Hi Collective, welcome to the channel. I'm Crystal, a Divine Messenger. Welcome to the channel. So I'm just gonna get right into this teaching, okay? My camera's tried to start recording like 5 times just as I've been trying to like connect with my guides, right? And just to find out like what's the energy that's coming through today, right? So as I was meditating, I was hearing lower echelon, right? And I wasn't sure what that meant because like last week I was hearing upper echelon and I was looking into that, right? And so I had never heard the lower before, right? And this is where I was really like recognizing like a lot of like cycles and patterns. Like a lot of times, like when I go and process things that has happened, especially a time when like major life changes are happening and cycles are closing out and stuff, I look at like what did I learn from those situations? Like why did I experience those? What can I take away from those situations, right? Okay, so I know that I was in this process of thinking about like why was I dealing with like certain relationships, certain entanglements, like what was it teaching me, right? Okay, so then I heard a lower echelon, right? And it has to do with limited decision-making power of authority or influence compared to those in higher echelons. For example, a corporate setting, employees with lower echelons may be entry-level workers or for those in supportive roles, while upper echelon would include executives and senior management. Right. So what I was getting with this, it's like for some of you, like you're realizing that like it's almost like an initiation. For some of you, it's like you had certain relationships, situations, and cycles that were preparing you for where you're going. If you're coming into alignment with this reading, this is where I'm going to be telling you that you are reaching a level of advancement, like a higher level of ascension is being reached. Like you're being given access to new gifts, new keys, skills, abilities. Like you are leveling up, okay? And I knew that I had already been on this pathway, especially when I decided I was closing out these cycles, right? And then I had certain tests that were coming in, but in a way they were kindly divinely inspired for me just to see, because I'm one where I like to make sure that I am definitely making the right decisions. So sometimes I need to have reassurance that, yeah, I'm moving in the right direction, just to see certain patterns and cycles or whatever play out again in a certain way, just to kind of get the confirmation. Take whatever you would. If I'm not making sense to you by what I'm saying, then that part of the message is not for you, then don't worry about it. But anyway, what I'm getting at is like, and I feel to say, so for some of you, maybe you're going to be making a couple more decisions in this lower echelon energy before you get to this upper level, right? But it's like you couldn't have certain contracts or certain like authorities while you were surrounded by certain individuals. Does that make sense? So for some of you, by closing out certain cycles and relationships and situations and blocking people out at this time, it really advances you to a higher level where now you're like in a new bracket. Now you're able to align with new energies, contracts, right? It's like you weren't allowed certain access. You weren't allowed to go into certain doors associating with certain people or having them even in your auric field, having their energetic imprint, their energetic signature upon you, right? Okay, so for some of you, like, this is why I think that they're explaining it to me, these different like lower level echelon, higher level, is these different ranks, these different hierarchies and organizations and things like that, right? So that's very interesting. So for some of you, like when I was hearing the lower echelon, right, it's because I was realizing why, like what I was trying to build, what I was wanting to create and things like that, like why like I wasn't able to have access to them, right, because of these certain restrictions. Now let me get into more of this lower echelon energy, and this is what I'm going to label this reading to. All right, so a limited authority. Individuals in lower echelon often have less control over organizational decisions and may be more focused on executing tasks rather than strategic planning. Career progressions. Being in a lower echelon can be a starting point for a career advancement. Many individuals work their way up through rank, gaining experience and skills that can lead them to higher positions within the organization. So see, and even this is showing you, like, don't think that, like, no, you were trapped in a certain, like, lower consciousness or a lower level that was blocking you from your career progression, like it's almost like that was your entry level. Like you were going to stay in that level until you were ready for advancement. That's why I always say, like, you're always right on point where you're supposed to be. Because you may think that people come in and people may delay and block you and all of that, but really they're only delaying and blocking you if you're not ready for advancement. Do you know what I mean? Because otherwise you would surpass them, you'd be done with that contract. You know what I mean? So that's why you really are always where you're meant to be. That is what you're aligning with, right? And for whatever reason, that's why, like, for some of you, like, you're realizing you're the one that had to initiate this advancement to the higher level. I don't think that everybody goes to this higher level echelon energy. Not everybody's meant to be leaders, to be in executive positions. Right? That's why this is so exciting for, like, whoever is aligning for this, because I already said, like, you're advancing to this higher level, okay? But I felt, though, I needed to explain this lower one, so definitely take a look at my next reading that I do, where I'm going to be talking more about this, right? So anyway, let's get more into this. So the term carries connotations of being undervalued or overlooked within a larger system, and those in lower echelons may not receive the same recognition or resources as the higher ranking counterparts. Oh, you know what this is giving to? Because I was thinking a lot about, like, relationships and situations. Like, for some of you, maybe in... you know, like, I see the twin flames, like, they can be soul traps in a way. Twin flames can, because, like, if you have a twin flame journey where you're supposed to trigger one another, but one was operating too much in the shadow side and they didn't stay on path and didn't awaken, aren't in alignment with you, like, for some, like, they turn karmic, right? And they lost their contracts, right? They're stuck in the lower echelon energy, right? You know what I mean? So it's like there needed to be a disconnect and a separation. And that's why sometimes we'll have these divinely guided separations to kind of ensure and bring you back together on track. But even if that doesn't happen, I mean, just some contracts were being realigned and were separate. Not all of them go to unification, I'm hearing, right? It's interesting, is that it said hiring and counterparts, because sometimes, like, the trauma is just too much. The infiltrations are just far too much, right? I mean, it's a lot to be able to, like, the sacrifices that a chosen one has to make, right? And to be able to reach these higher levels, like, they're not something you're not just like, oh yeah, they look chosen, let me just choose them. Like, you have to prove yourself. Like, it is like a very big part of, like, initiations and you know, constantly getting tested. Like, there's so many times in your life where, like, you may know that you're being tested, but there's so many other times where, like, you didn't even know that you were being tested, right? And sometimes it's like, what was your heart feeling at that time? You know what I mean? Like, where there's so many different things. You're constantly being tested, right? That's what I mean, like, like, leaders and things like that, like, when this has to do with, like, to this level of the gifts that you're receiving in the advancement, like, it's just not given lightly, right? You really had to prove yourself. That's why it's like the warriors, right? That's why I say us earth angels, you know, we're not all love and light. I mean, we are, but it's, you know, we carry that frequency of love, but we will fight to defend and protect that. Maybe for some of you, like, you needed to learn that, right? So maybe you had to go through more of a harsher path with people taking more and more advantage of you, hurting you a little bit more, just to get you to be in that protective state, right? To protect that energy or whatever. So, wow. So for some of you, yeah, there's this major separation for some of you. Like, maybe that's what was so difficult for you to make this advancement and this shift, because there's some of you, like, you were contracted together with somebody and that contract needed to be severed, okay? And that can be hard. Like, for some of you, you might have felt like, well, I'm not worthy of this then if I couldn't, you know what I mean? Like, especially when or this comes to like twin flames, right? And you feel that, it's the other half of your soul, right? So it's like, that's where it was hanging me up for a while, right? But, when it comes to some really being succumbed to the darkness and selling their soul, okay, they no longer have it anymore. Now they're just literally a vessel, an empty vessel, literally just being a foot soldier for the enemy. So really, what are you fighting for? You're just fighting with an entity. Okay, so maybe looking at it from that perspective might help you. All right. But it's all about getting whole and complete within yourself. Yes, I know that there's mirrored and the split, a divine masculine and all of that, but we're not going to get into that. For the soul splits, right? Initially with the twin flame, right? It's about recovering that, come back together. But that's what I mean, because there's been so many incarnations and splits and things like that. For some of you, you could have had another lifetime where like you split your soul again. Okay, so now it's like you had like another twin anyway. So you know what I mean? This could have been where you were trying to recover a part of your soul, which would be like your twin, but it was an original part of your soul, and you've already advanced and had so many other incarnations and things. And maybe for some of you were working through some of the, for some of you, like maybe you were recovering pieces of your soul back working. You know what I mean? Like going through karma and stuff, you were able to recover, because you can always recover your soul. So for some of you, maybe you recovered the missing part of your soul back, right? Or it's been given to another individual to recover that. And that's what I mean, where you can integrate. And that's what I mean is so beautiful, because we're all one anyways. And we're all fragmented pieces that literally coming back together with another being that's divine, whole, and complete. And even if they're missing their a piece, like you're going to connect, which is going to make it full and complete anyway. So I'm kind of explaining it in different levels, but that's what's going on here. So this is very beautiful. Okay. So wow. All right. All right. So that's enough then, I guess, with the lower echelon energy. So for some of you, like that, that's what you were in. Okay, you could have been in some sort of organization, hierarchy, right, structures, and to me this has to do with 3D matrix level thinking and controlling and programming. That's why for some of you, like just certain interactions, certain relationship situations, and people that you were connecting with, like your class, like that's what you were allowed to experience. Maybe for some, that's why they were pulling you and kind of keeping you in that energy. It's just way east in there. So yeah, you're finally disconnecting, breaking away. For some of you, there's been divine interventions, like time's up, literally, like, nope. For some of you, you've had help, but for some, it's because you asked, right? Because we have free will here, like, you have to ask. Like, you can ask about, like, I was asking for divine intervention and help, things like that. Like, sometimes you literally gotta ask for it, right? I know we're all stubborn and like, I can take care of this myself and all of that, but sometimes you need to ask for help, literally. And divine intervention can occur. So asking for help is a beautiful thing, right? Yeah, so whoa, it's exciting. I've been wanting to play with the tarot and get into the cards. I want to pull a few cards here at the end of this reading. See what other messages that we have coming out. So, okay, so now they've explained that, the Echelon energy. I mean, I don't know, should I do another higher level? Maybe I'll just talk a little bit about it in this one. I actually still have like 15 minutes available. Okay, let's just see here. Okay. There's a whole like group that comes up. I know there's like different levels, right? I know some would say like higher echelon energies would be like the Masons, right? And the things like that. But I was getting more like spiritual levels, like there's different levels of ranking. See, the term higher echelon refers to the uppermost level of power and authority within a social or professional hierarchy. It typically denotes individuals who hold significant influence and impact decision-making processes. This concept can apply to various contexts. But see, this is how I'm taking it. I'm taking it as like the lower echelon is literally like matrix. So the higher echelon is more like the spiritual realm and world. That's kind of how I've been taking it. Right? Okay, so anyway, maybe I don't have so much to say about it then, because I don't want to talk more about, like, it just has to do with it. I mean, because just the big difference that you're going to be getting, like, when you're, you know what I mean? All of the initiations and everything that you've had to prove the worthiness of having your power, of being able to control your emotional state, not being swayed by the darkness, right? Not being manipulated or controlled. Just literally all the work that you've had to do to get out of the matrix control, healing all of the wounds, healing all of the trauma, doing all of those things, right? To get yourself advanced to that higher level. Like literally, that's what this was about, okay? Oh wow, look at the sirens going off. Is the moon's coming out here. This is a strong new moon energy. And I was just asking too, like, when are we going to have the influence of Lionsgate? I know we're peaking here on the 8th with the portal and the gateway. But really, if I remember right, it's the 27th that when the star starts to align, the star system Sirius starts to align in the sky. The apex moment's literally on the 8th, but if I remember right, it's the 27th is when literally like the gates and the corridor pops open. So literally that's today when I'm recording this, right? And we just had our new moon in Leo, like right when the Leo season was starting off, right? So it's very powerful, this new moon energy, this new beginnings. That's what I mean. For some of you, like it was like literally this is when this switch happened or whatever. And that's why like I was hearing upper echelon last week, right? But then I was lower echelon. I don't want to say that. Sometimes I get stuff from my personal situations when I'm here connecting with my guides, and I don't want to put it all out because of how heavily my channel is watched and infiltrated. Alright. Anyway, let's see. I want to get into some more cards here. I seen 5 of Cups with 9 of Cups. Do you see that? Well, I didn't show you, but 5 of Cups and 9 of Cups. To have the two of those out together, I don't often have that. See, often you see the 5 of Cups, but yeah, you know, it's like with the 3 of Swords, betrayal, pain, or something. But with the 9 of Cups, it's like some sort of ending, but you're okay with the ending. Like you're accepting that, yes, something served its path and its purpose, right? And some of you are realizing, like, I was being really grateful and thankful of my relationship and my situation. Like, I know it got me on path and it got me on point. Like, it's like, if anything, having to leave my past behind, my lover, my counterpart, my twin, whatever, it's like he did his job by advancing me further. He got me to the echelon, even though he couldn't, you know, like, I know that it's one of these, like, I'm getting like Titanic vibes, you know, with like how Jack did that to save her, you know what I mean? It was like maybe couldn't save them both, but you know, it still worked. I mean, he didn't know that he wasn't going to make it. She didn't know he wasn't going to make it. But it's just kind of one of those things. You know, like, some things aren't meant to be, you know? Like, who would have said, too, like, if she didn't have stayed with him, that guy would have came down and tracked them both down and ended their lives? You know what I mean? Like, it might have played out differently if they were together. You know what I mean? Or what if he would have got her pregnant right away and she would have had a child, and then she wouldn't have... I mean, I'm not to say that, like, children stop your... I don't know where I'm going. I don't know. Maybe it just would have changed her The fate of things. I don't know what I'm going with. I'm just gonna shut up. All right. Page of Wands is coming out. The 10 of Wands, 2 of Pentacles. For some of you, like, you were juggling a decision. For some of you, like, you didn't know how to handle this, right? Page of Cups here. So, like, for some of you, like, you needed help with the decision. Like, something was too burdensome. 2 of Cups. The Queen of Wands. Yeah, for some of you, you didn't know how to close out a situation. 2 of Swords. But see justice. Like, for some of you, like, you asked for help. Like, you knew that just being in this energy, like, you would experience everything that you were meant to experience. Like, for some of you, like, you knew this was a contract. You didn't understand what was going on with this, right? But because there was a lot of, like, hidden battling, but at the same time, like, you didn't know if they were just, like, tests for you, testing your loyalty, testing your faith, right? So it's almost like you had to let divine come in and intervene because it was either for you or not. For some of you, like, you were told, like, they were still being given opportunities, right? You know, sometimes you're being used for others to be able to have redemption. Do you know what I mean? Like, what a beautiful thing that is, too, especially, like, if you signed up for it. Like, some of you signed up knowing that you were going to come down and, like, your twin was going to betray you. Your twin was going to do all of these things to you. And you were like, okay, all right, now I'm going to let them do all of those things. And I remember I heard something reading before, a reader was picking up on this, and she was like, why would you do that? Why would you sign up to experience all of these things? And I totally understand it now, because it allows me to be able to help others. Like, that's something I want to experience. Now I know that I can help others that have went through situations where they have had these traumatizing and traumatic situations been done to them by the one that they love the most, and know what that feels like, and to still know how to transmute that pain, how to heal from it. You know what I mean? And I feel to explain, it's just like, for some of you, like, you need to understand, like, the reason why a lot of times, like, men or women will be runners and will go cheat and go find somebody else and things like that, is because it's like, when you're giving all of the love to them, it scares them, but they don't see it as that. They see it as, it's like, it's too easy, and it's like, how do I explain this? It's like they don't feel worthy of the love that you're giving them. So they think that if you're giving them that love, that you're not anything important or special because you just gave them that love. Do you know what I mean? But instead, that love that you gave them the confidence to build them up, to have them go then seeking to get love and attention from others. And then when they do, they get that thrill of you know what I mean? And that's where they may chase the ones that then shut them down, or, you know what I mean? And it's like, they feel like they've got the confidence to go after those things that they never have before. You know what I mean? So it's this thing, like, yeah, I know it's so painful because, you know, you gave them that love for them to turn around, that confidence, and to go. But it's like, when that happens, they're really destroying themselves, because you have to be strong enough to know that you have to walk away. But when you do walk away, then everything's going to fall apart. They're going to lose their confidence. They're going to get shut down. They're going to realize then the love that they lost. You know what I mean? And it's like everything crumbles, but in the moment, it's like, and in a way, it's like energy theft too, because they're stealing the love and affection that you're giving them, and instead of giving it back to you, they're giving it to somebody else. But it's really, do you see what I mean? Why the wound caused them to go do that? And really the wound was because they didn't feel that they were worthy of the love, so they couldn't see you as the love, you know. And that's why the ones that stay in these situations and they allow their partners to cheat on them or use them, they're not going to get that justice. And that's why it's to teach you, like, you have to know your worth, and you have to walk away, because as soon as you do, it's going to steal your energy back from them. It's not going to allow them to siphon your energy, to use your energy, to go run around these escapades, to get other energy. And then they're not even going to be, because a lot of times people are just cloaking around using other people's energy. Like, You know what I mean? Like, they wouldn't have even been able or had the confidence to even go after these other situations and go cheat or whatever without your energy. Do you know what I mean? I'm not to say that, like, you initiated that. But you know what I mean? But see, we think that, oh, we weren't good enough. You know what I mean? For them to go find love somewhere else. Like, what we were giving them wasn't enough. But really, it was because of a wounding. Because you were loving them, it triggered them in a way like they didn't feel worthy of the love. But they didn't want to see it that way because they were so heavily in their ego that they were just seeing it as like, look at you just giving your love away to me or whatever. You know what I mean? So then that's what I mean. Like, it's all messed up or whatever. But that's what I mean. Like, once you realize that, like, no, you've got to shut the door and be strong and not stay in these situations. And you know what? You forgive and you let it go. And you let the divine bless you with the love that you deserve and desire. Because you're going to get that same love that you were reciprocating out right back once you eliminate these people that are running around with your energy. And, you know what I mean? Running to temptation, running to all of these things that control, right? It's so sad how much, like, true love has been, like, just, I want to say, like, squandered, hidden, taken advantage of, like, real loyalty and everything. It gets so corrupt, right? Because it gets challenged so much with, like, lust and just all of these things. Like, what was I sharing earlier? Like, I shared something literally about, like, cities. I was realizing, because I was looking a lot at my situation, I was like, gosh, when I was in my small little town with my lover, that we were in, like, we're in this small little town, like, it was so beautiful. And I can remember how, like, we'd hold hands walking through the town all the way down, you know what I mean? And we would be like our little local Walmart that we'd have, just so much like love and affection that we would share out in public around people and all of that. And then when we went to the big city, right, and he got me back out here, I started to realize, like, wow, like, he don't hold my hand around. You know what I mean? Like, the store is so fast paced and so busy. Like, I remember I used to tell him, like, gosh, I miss our little small town, our little local Walmart. You always gave me so much affection. I remember times that, like, we'd send the children to other aisles to go get food so we could have a couple minutes of kissing each other or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, but it's like, once we changed cities, I started to notice so much was changing, right? And it was so much more fast paced. I'm like, it can't be because it's super busy and things like that. 27 o'clock, as I say. I'm trying to talk fast, I have like 2 minutes available on the reading. But I was like, but there'd still be times that we'd be at that store and have an empty aisle. And it was different, right? And I was starting to realize, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's the city. Because literally, this busy city, literally, what is it filled with? It's literally filled with strip clubs, bars, smoke shops, alcohol shops, all of this stuff just everywhere, and just seeing so much of the destruction and so many people walking around like addicted to drugs and violence and just so much stuff going around. I started to see a lot of the darkness and the entities and a lot of the lustful, and realizing how much it's changed the energetic vibration of the city, that really that's why there's so much like temptation and all of that. It's literally all around in our cities, right? And I know it's not like that in every city, but really me just seeing like how much my life changed dramatically from my small town to this, like what it did, you know what I mean? And how he was literally lured away and stuff. So don't be thinking that a lot of this was anything that you did or didn't do. If you may be in a situation where it caused somebody to hurt you, deceive you, lie, cheat, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, there's such these big tests that there's just so much corruption, and there's so much that's just been blocking the true love. And that's what I'm saying, like a lot of these divine unions, like a lot of times you get separated for protection, because it's like a lot of these structures and these patterns need to be torn down for true love to be able to be stabilized, to be not getting, I mean, imagine if twins and divine beings that have divine protection still run into their love lives and their situations getting infiltrated like this by the enemy. What normal ones that don't have the divine protection must be like. You know, that's what I mean. There's just so much that has been really blocking true love, and there's just so many relationships where people have trauma bonded, that they're not with their true loves because they don't have the strength and the courage to know that, to have the self-worth to walk away and to not let the pain and things go on. But that's what we're here changing, right? So, all right, I better leave this here. I'm almost out of time. Definitely check out some other readings, right? Bye, guys.